I'm your host, Eric Eisenberg. Welcome to Hero Blend number 34. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is starting its second season next week, and there is a lot to look forward to. The mystery of Director Coulson is still on. We're still wondering what happened to Skye's parents. There are a lot of questions to hang around and a lot of stuff to talk about, so check it out. Welcome back, everyone. This week, I am once again very happy to have, from Coming Soon, Superhero Hype and Most Crave, Mr. Silas Lesnick. How's it going, buddy? So, you've come for a very good week because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is starting up next week. I am very excited. I know that this has been a kind of a controversial show over the last year or so, simply because there are some people who are still really not on board with it.
I will admit that I think S.H.I.E.L.D. had a bad pilot.
Okay.
Other than that, I love it. I love getting a little bit of the Marvel Cinematic Universe every week. It's maybe a bit slower than some other shows. I think largely because it's a 22 episode season as opposed to a lot of shows are 10 or 13 these days. I think it really picked up. I think I got to know the characters as somebody who's been a fan of Joss Whedon. That's how his shows work.
That's true. I mean, Firefly is kind of an anomaly in that it's kind of great just by itself. But if you look like first seasons of Angel, first seasons of Buffy, those are classic shows that really just didn't start out that great. It kind of,
because it's and it's not necessarily a Joss Whedon show, but a Whedon style. And his brother is the showrunner.
He's one of them, with Jed and all of them,
It's a show that plays up the characters, and you need the time to build these things. I think it did that. I think I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Sure. And I think one complaint that a lot of fans have had about the first season was just that they didn't see that much influence from the comics. They saw a lot of original new characters. Obviously, it's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but when it came to actual characters from the comics, there weren't that many. I mean, obviously, you had stuff like Deathlock later in the season, but this year, it kind of seems like they're kind of doing their part to fix that. I mean, we're hearing about Mockingbird, we're hearing about Creel, the Absorbing Man, going to be kind of in the first couple episodes. I feel like they are kind of responding to that to a certain degree, do you know?
Not just that, but it also sounds like we're going to have a much stronger connection between S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter.
Absolutely, yeah. That, which I'm also... that's going to be very cool. Obviously, it's a very different time setting, but it's going to be starting at mid-season. You've kind of got an interesting parallel setting up between the start of S.H.I.E.L.D. back in the 40s, the rebuilding of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think that there's a lot of ground to be kind of dug up there, and I think it could be really interesting.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see where they go. I'm also excited. Agent Carter just announced the casting of
Jarvis.
His name.
Yes.
With Jarvis, the original human Jarvis as Tony Stark's dad's butler. Presumably, the butler's going to have an influence on the young Tony Stark.
I think maybe because Howard Stark is probably going to be he's kind of a cold father. He kind of enjoys his work a little bit more than Tony. Maybe Jarvis is kind of a friend of Tony who names his own digital butler after him. That's kind of my personal theory. But let's also talk about the characters that we do know, that we've gotten to know more than just the guest stars. When we left Coulson, for example, he's now the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I love. I like. This is Agent Coulson's a character that we've been following this entire time. He's become a serious fan favorite, and I love to see him kind of in a position of power. Though he's going to be undergoing some changes this season.
Well, there's the whole Kree thing. We have no idea how that's going to play out.
No idea.
It's not just him, but it's also Skye.
It's also Skye.
Who we have yet to learn what her secret past is. Yeah. We do know Kyle MacLachlan is going to be playing her father.
Yeah, though he's credited as the Doctor, whatever that means. But Kyle MacLachlan's great, so I mean, we can't have it all. I guess, so I'll ask, how fast do you want them to kind of, A, dive into it, and B, I guess, start getting answers? Because the entire first season, we had those arcs with both Coulson and Skye, where Coulson, we were wondering how he survived after the Avengers, with Skye, we're wondering who her parents are. Those are mysteries that both got some answers and didn't. How do you kind of see them playing out in the second season?
Honestly, I'd like to see more just what they did with Captain America the Winter Soldier was so much fun when they did it. I'd like to see more stuff like that. And I think having both Agent Carter and who knows how much crossover they can do with these upcoming Netflix shows.
Sure.
There's certainly a big Marvel TV universe that's the same universe. It's nice to have a place where Marvel at the moment is kind of the underdog just because of the barrage of DC shows on the way. I'm excited for those as well.
Oh, sure.
But it's weird that all of a sudden there are like 15 comic book shows
Yeah.
on television.
Comic book fans have been enjoying this run of movies these past couple of years. It's only natural that it's now starting in television, and I think it's fantastic. But just getting back to what you were saying about Captain America: The Winter Soldier having such a big effect, one thing that's interesting about this year is that last year you had both Thor and Captain America both kind of strategically placed, almost to a kind of coincidental degree, that they were in the middle of S.H.I.E.L.D's first season. They kind of were there to kind of give it a boost. When Thor came out, they had the Thor tie-in episode. Obviously, Captain America: The Winter Soldier had a huge effect on the outcome. But they don't really have that this year because the Avengers. Yes, they have Agent Carter coming out mid-season, but the Avengers is not coming out till May, which is going to be after the second season is kind of wrapped up. How much effect do you think we're going to be seeing on the larger, kind of the feature side of the cinematic universe?
It's hard to say. Yeah. Just because we still don't know about the Netflix shows.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see crossover there?
With the Netflix shows? I very much hope so.
Okay.
Because it is really neat.
Very cool.
But it's hard to say.
Yeah.
We still may be in for some surprises about the Netflix series. We still know very, very little. It sounds like New York Comic Con is where Daredevil...
where it's going to... we're going to have... We'll probably have a very special Hero Blend episode to cover that. But kind of also, just to get back to the cares, another thing that I'm kind of curious about, and I'm wondering how they're going to do with it, is the presence of Agent Ward. Because the end of the first season, I loved that Ward turned out to just be a bad guy. Like, I loved that he was a Hydra agent, and they didn't really kind of go back on it. Like, I was afraid that he was gonna end up saying oh no, I've been working for you guys all along, and they didn't. They committed to it. But I'm kind of upset. I'm not terribly happy that he's coming back for the second season. I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't mind because I'd like to see. There's certainly some fallout to still be dealt with.
Sure.
I'm more excited just for the prospect of other evil Hydra agents.
Yes, coming out of the woodwork, man.
It always bothered me, item 47, that why is S.H.I.E.L.D. hiring two criminals that robbed a bank? Now it makes perfect sense because it was Hydra.
Yeah, exactly. It was civil. You brought them on, yeah.
But bring
Lizzie Kaplan.
Yeah,
absolutely. Bring her on as a guest. That is a great. I love that. But to get back to Agent Ward, do you want to see him get redemption? Because, we kind of connected to him on an emotional level. Obviously, the rest of the main cast kind of had a certain bond with him. Do you want to see Ward kind of come back and be a bigger part of this show?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Knowing Joss Whedon, it's either, or Whedon-esque, it's either he's about to be redeemed and then he'll die at the last minute, or somebody will forgive him and he'll be eternally good guy, and then he'll kill a main character
and then you're redeemable forever. That sounds about right. Yeah. Okay, well, Dalton, eye on you. Let's wrap this up. It's starting next Tuesday. What are you most excited for in S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2?
I hope they take it to some strange places. I hope they take advantage of the fact that there's not Marvel movies coming out, but I don't want to see them shy away from that Marvel universe.
Oh, absolutely. What I'm really hoping for is they not only stay within the Marvel universe, but they also kind of expand it, because we have a lot of weird stuff coming down the line in terms of Marvel Cinematic Universe. You have Ant-Man, which is an incredible sci-fi-esque shrinking superhero. You have Doctor Strange is eventually going to open up.
Speaking of Ant-Man, while it doesn't come out till July and presumably S.H.I.E.L.D. will be done by then, there's no reason you can't set up threads of Ant-Man, especially if Hank Pym's been around since the 60s.
And since the 60s, you have you obviously got to have era elements within here. I completely agree. You could totally find some way to kind of get a maybe young Hank Pym into Agent Carter. I don't know. That's kind of a 20-year difference.
It also sounds like we have to have time travel at some point, right? With Agent Carter, and it
seems inevitable, just if not only because the Time Infinity Stone exists. You know that time travel is going to happen somewhere in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We can give it to S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good call. Listen up, people. I think.
I think I've said this before, but Coulson loves collecting antique artifacts. How much fun would he have traveling back in time to Agent Carter?
I would love to see a crossover episode between Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where Coulson travels back to the 1940s and is kind of overseeing S.H.I.E.L.D. And who knows? I'd
like to see Peggy Carter come to the future.
Come to the future. Yes, absolutely. Well, then again, I guess if she does that, you might have the Captain America problem.
That's exactly what would be so interesting.
I guess you could kind of do it like that episode of Angel where they go after Buffy.
The Girl in Question.
Girl in Question. We're not going to get into super Buffy details or super Angel details. But anyway, yes. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. starting next week. Silas, thank you so much for being on the show with me this week, man. And everyone, we will see you next week with another great show. Have a good one.